Good afternoon. As Pam said, my name's Rusty Gordon, and I got to tell you, I'm really glad to be with you guys this afternoon. I find this time to be a real privilege. I'm very grateful for Jay, for Catherine, and Pam, all the people at Job Networking that do all they do. And especially, they almost every year they give me an opportunity to come to you guys in January, albeit this year it's remote and via Zoom. And I'm excited about that. And I realize that part of that is because of my own background. I've been at the church forever and I've done most everything, especially a lot of time with the youth over a 20-year period and mission trips to foreign countries and all over the United States. But professionally, I've been involved in the high tech industry. And so it's been, as you guys know, it's a really rapidly moving industry. And I've been mostly in the CEO role in small businesses that were either trying to survive or take off or get started. And I don't run those anymore, but I advise other CEOs called in where they got a problem, they're all clogged up, or they got an opportunity to scale. And so the reason I tell you that is because it seems like my life has been this continuing series of new beginnings. I just had these new beginnings, and now I'm addicted to it. I like to help other guys with guys and ladies with their new beginnings. And so today, that's a bit of what I'd like to talk about is new beginnings. But a word on 2020 before we do that. Um, I got a text. I got to tell you about a text. I got a text early this year with a meme on it. And it was a text on January 7th. So as we all know, January 6th was, a day we're going to talk about in our country for quite some time, regardless of what our perspective is, our political leanings. We have a strong perspective about that day, one way or the other. But this text came in and it said, I would like to cancel my subscription to 2021. I have used my 7-day free trial and I'm not interested. And I thought, man, is that good? I mean, look at the start of 2021 and look back to 2020. I will tell you a couple of things I think have shown up in 2020. And I know different people, it's been much harder. For some of you, it's probably been incredible, strained relationships, strained financial resources, strained working environment. Everything's different. But I may at the end of this discussion tell you about another year I had that was a 2020, came in 2015. But right now, let's look at 2020. The thing that I realize most about 2020 is that it didn't catch God off stride at all. It didn't catch him by surprise. God kind of saw it coming. And God did what God does, which is different things in different ones of our lives. Okay. But generally, what he did was he kind of said to all of us, what is it you're relying on and what is it you're trusting? And is it reliable and is it trustworthy? And we went through that in great order this year. And I think in many cases we felt betrayed by someone. And in fact, I was telling someone the other day, I don't think I've ever heard the word traitor used so many times in one year, probably in my entire life accumulative. So we feel a little betrayed, and some may feel betrayed by God himself. Certainly we feel betrayed by some that are close, and certainly by our government, and certainly by politics, and the church has tried to do the best it can to stay connected, but maybe they haven't met our expectations either. Well, how about 2021? God's not caught by surprise there either. Maybe we should set our expectations over to the side a little bit. Maybe we should name them and set them to the side. And maybe we should look at 2021 and say, what has God up to? And what I want to talk to you about today that I feel strongly he's up to, and because it's been in my life, I'm passionate about it. I think it's that we've got a new year. It is a time for new beginnings for so many of us. And in those new beginnings, it may require a new you, a new me, a new us. So we're dealing with a new year, new beginnings, and a new us. And it reminds me, if you will, at Christmas time when I was a kid, I remember one year, my friends had already gotten there, but I remember one year that we got an Etch-a-Sketch. And do you remember that Etch-a-Sketch? And you could roll the dials. First off, it required me to be different. I wasn't drawing the way I used to draw, but it was there and I could learn to draw. And sometimes I had to do things together, but out came a new drawing. And if I didn't like it, I would shake it up and I would draw again. Well, what if God has provided us an Etch-a-Sketch? Which of us in 2021 are going to try to redraw 2020 or 2019? And which of us are going to actually draw what it is that God may want for us in 2021? Which of us are going to step into that? So we have a new year. What about new beginnings? Well, I like to see what the Bible says about new beginnings. And I always like to turn to the Bible and turn to my prayer and then turn to friends I trust in the Lord. Not necessarily I trust in my life. I trust in the Lord. They hear, and I like to kind of triangulate those. And so when I did that, I want to share a couple of things that I heard from the Lord about these new beginnings, a couple of places I was directed. And one of my first ones been around a long time. So I guess these new beginnings have happened before. And in fact, I'm not sure when I read through the Bible and I read all the challenges and all the stories and all the adventures, I'm not sure the Bible's not written about people's 2020 and then their 2021s. In other words, I'm not sure that those stories aren't mostly written about unforeseen difficulties and how they approached those unforeseen difficulties and how it turned out when they were with God and how it turned out when they couldn't let go of their own control and their own pride and they continued to beat the same drum. So when I look at that, I go back over 2,000 years ago to Isaiah. He was one of these prophets that was really close to the Lord, and he was sharing about this stuff that the people needed to do, and didn't make him popular. So I may not be popular with you today, but I want you to consider what 2021 might be like with a new beginning in your life and a new you, okay? So here's what Isaiah said, 43:18-19. Listen to this. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. This is God speaking through Isaiah. And he says, forget the former things. He doesn't say your former things aren't good. He doesn't say your former things couldn't be useful. He's saying, forget them. Don't dwell on the past. Let it go. I got it. I got the future too. I'm doing a new thing. It springs up. It's springing up. Can't you see it springing up? What's springing up in your life? There's something. If you're walking with the Lord, and if you're not, he's calling you there because he's got something he wants to plant and spring. There isn't any question about it. Making a way in the wilderness. Certainly it's not hard to feel like I'm in the wilderness. And streams in the wasteland. I love that. But maybe God doesn't know we're out of gas. I mean, we are whooped. I am so tired. I mean, I've gotten off certain things I read in social media. I mean, I'm just whooped. I got nothing left. I've done all I could. I put it out there. I'm trying to persevere, and I'm out of gas. I'm focused on the goal. I'm focused on the end. I'm focused on returning to normal, whatever that is. I know it's something I didn't like when I had it, but that's what I'm focused on. But maybe God's calling us to the adventure. Once I realized my life was an adventure, it wasn't a series of journeys leading me to a destination. And as much as I might advise God where I wanted to go, he took that into consideration, but oftentimes that's not where he left me. And it's not where he took me. Sometimes I had to go on a different journey to be ready for that. And sometimes he had something better in mind for me. And he does for you. That much I know, because he didn't pick me out special. We're all special, but he didn't pick me out to give me something he didn't give you. His grace doesn't flow more my way than yours. But I sure don't recognize his grace all the time in my life when he's prepping me for something good. Maybe that's happening for you. But maybe you're out of gas. You just don't have the energy. Same man, Isaiah. Just before this, Isaiah says in chapter 40, verse 28, 31, did you know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary. Is that you? Strength's coming when you want it. And he gives strength to the weary, and he increases the power of the weak. You know, even youth grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. You know what it looks like when you renew your strength? You want to get a visual picture? You feel confined today? Here's your visual picture. He doesn't want to leave us without it. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Isn't that cool? This new beginning and this new year that the Lord is pushing to our life is one that he's well equipped for. He's ready for it. And he doesn't want you to charge out there on that last bit of energy you have, that last bit, redouble down that one more resume review. He wants you to come to him and recharge. He wants to be the energy, the wind beneath your wings, the hope that you need, and the power that you need for a new beginning in your life. But it's not all just the Lord. It means it may be a new you. In my life, it had to be a new me on some occasions. Sometimes just a little bit of work and sometimes an overhaul, but it's a new you. And the problem with a new me is I can't get to a new me with an old mindset. It's not about passion. It's not about conviction. It's not about heart. It's not about truth. It's about my mindset. And that's why in Ephesians 4, 22, 24, he says, you were taught with regard to your former way of life. He's telling us what happened, and this is later in the New Testament. So he's telling us, Isaiah told you, now listen up. You were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by deceitful desires, like making money and taking care of myself and being independent and relying on myself, keeping my reputation. There's a lot more. We don't want to go any further, do we? You know what a flawed man I am now. Okay. But to be made new in the attitude of your minds and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. The new self, we put it on by being with God, not doing things that we're sure he wants us to do, but just being with him, more with him, where he can take us on the journey that he has for us. Not the plan, but the adventure. That is what it's for. He even tells us when we're looking for our destiny in Romans 12, 1 and 2, he tells us what we need to do. And in the middle of that, the catalyst is to renew our minds. Not that we're thinking wrong, We might be right about the social ills of the country and what needs to be done, but we're so locked in, he's asking us to renew our mind. Think about joining me and letting me get after that. It's a very interesting. Can we do a new self? Can we renew our mind this year? Can we take that Etch-a-Sketch and can we spin a new us? Maybe the Lord just needs a little, maybe he needs a lot. If you talk to him, you'll know, okay? But he's prepared something for 2021, and he's prepared us for 2021. And likely we'll use experiences from 2020. I don't know what, and I don't know when. And I know it may not look good when it starts. I want to finish with this. In 2015, I had my 2020. In the very beginning of 2015, January 5th, Friday night, we had a family crisis. My two girls walked into my bedroom with my wife, and the youngest one, who was out of high school, but the youngest one prepared and told us that we were going to be grandparents, although she wasn't married and we didn't know the guy. That changed everything. It was a new year. It truly became a new beginning. And I'm going to tell you, it required a new me. The old me couldn't handle it, and the old me wouldn't handle it. And my Lord was right there, and I pushed him away because that's what we do when the course of history changes in front of us. But eventually I turned back to him, and he was waiting on me. And it took a lot of new you adjustment. And that adventure is still being written. But we did have a grandson. He is 15. Doesn't look like us. And it's been an experience I can't describe. It's been an adventure. It's been so worthy in my life that it's added a dimension once I became the new you. It's been hard. It's not been what I would have wanted, but I wouldn't want to miss it. Isn't that life, y'all? Isn't that just our careers too? We see these other people with these just perfectly escalating careers. I don't know who these folks are. I think they're false names. It's not the way it happens for me and mine. It's not the way it happens for the people I work with. And it didn't want to happen for me. Let me tell you how God's with you. There's a man that was in my life for a long time named Mike Miller, kind of just a pillar from our church, was one of our ministers. And he hated technology. So back in 2005, he had an email account, but he didn't use it except in dire circumstances. But I would meet with him from time to time. On that Friday night, when I heard that news, that was a terrible weekend as God prepared me for my new you. By Monday, I needed to get out of the house and see something new. So I went to my office around 4:30 in the morning. And on my office, on my email, was a note from my friend and spiritual advisor, Mike Miller, and God. And Mike had never sent me an email. And Mike said, Rusty, I was troubled this weekend, and I was thinking about you. And Dolores and I, we prayed for you, and I don't know why, and so I don't want to alarm you, okay? But I just want to let you know I was thinking about you and praying about you. And Mike had a great command of literature. He was just, nearly Shakespearean. And he said, and it led me to this poem called The Gate of the Year. So as we end today, I want you to think about where I was. I want you to think about where you are. And I want to read this poem, The Gate of the Year. And any of you that want it, we can forward it to you, or you can go on Google and get The Gate of the Year. In fact, the history of this poem is quite fascinating. But hear the Gate of the Year in the King's English, so to speak. God knows. And I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, give me a light that I may tread safely into the unknown. And he replied, go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God. That shall be to you better than light and safer than a known way. So I went forth and finding the hand of God, trod gladly into the night. He led me toward the hills in the breaking day in the lone east. So heart be still. What need our little life, our human life, to know if God hath comprehension? In all the dizzy strife of things both high and low, God hideth his intention. God knows. His will is best. The stretch of years which wind ahead, so dim to our imperfect vision, are clear to God. Our fears are premature. In him all time have full provision. Then rest until God moves to lift the veil from our impatient eyes, when as the sweeter features of life's stern face we hail, fair beyond all surmise, God's thought around his creatures our minds shall fill. It's what I needed that day. I hope it's what you need this day. I hope you know that God's got this, that a new beginning is being cast your way in a new year. And it's worth what it takes to become the new you that God has in mind for you. May God bless you and keep you. In Jesus' name, amen. See y'all next January, if not before. Have a great day. Bye-bye.